right. Well, hello, and welcome everyone to our BG5 Live. Great to have all of you here with us live in our Zoom room, live on Facebook, and watching via the recording on YouTube or on our website. So welcome. Today is May 31st, the last day of May. Can you believe we're almost in June? This year's been flying by. So today is May 31st, 2022. This is episode 158. And today we're going to take a look at trait 16. So we're going to take a look at life as an art. So that's what we're going to take a look at today. We're going to take a look at trait 16 of skills. So before we get started, let's say hello to our panel. Let's start with Anna. Hello, Anna. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. Welcome.
Great to have you here. Welcome. And Shelley.
Hello, everyone. Welcome, everybody, today. Great to be looking at life as an art. Interested to see how that works out.
Great. And for all of you that are live in our Zoom room, if you do have trait 16, or if you have the 48 on the other side, we would love to hear from you. Or if you have experiences with someone who has trait 16, would love to hear from you. All right. Also, if you're live in via Facebook as well, if you want to type in as well, we can read it here live in our Zoom room. So let's get started. Our last trait in May. So again, we've been going through purpose fulfilled through form. So in May, getting into the driver's seat of life with unique insights, leading by example, being in the now by expressing the art of living enthusiastically. So when we take a look at where we've been, again, the driver, assimilation, contribution, contemplation, and now we're going to take a look at skills. We're going to take a look at skills in the 16. This is enthusiasm of the life of living life as an art. And when we take a look at 16, again, one of the things that's interesting about this period of time as we move through purpose fulfilled through form, we're going to continue to move through purpose fulfilled through form in June as well, is that all of the traits of communication and action in the throat are all found within this quarter of purpose fulfilled through form. So we have been focused on all of the individual expressions. Now we're taking a look at the logical expression. So we're taking a look at the logical expression in trait 16. I guess, yeah, there we go. The arrow's a little tiny bit off, but we're close there. When we take a look at the 16, also, if we take a look at what's going on today, again, we still have the 4323 happening in the background, still in quality 4. It's going to be in quality 4 until the end of July. You'll also notice what grounds the 16, which is always interesting. What grounds what's on the other side of it is the 9. The 9 is really focus. So in a sense, in order to develop skills, we need to be able to focus. So it's interesting that we have focus as that which grounds the skills. So let's dive in and let's take a look at trait 16. This is the skills for living life as an art. So this is the voice of I experiment or I identify. This is to skillfully master something. And in order to skillfully master something, again, it takes dedication, it takes focus, it takes getting into it in depth. It takes practicing it over and over and over again to really become a master. So this is part of what the skill is all about. It's being able to identify with whatever the skill happens to be, right? This is also the great art of enriching life by the harmonic channeling of energy. So it's channeling the energy, it's focusing the energy towards developing the skills that require this focus concentration in order to master. In order to master something, again, you practice it over and over and over again. So part of the enthusiasm is being able to be enthusiastic about developing the skill no matter how many times you need to practice. This is also about experimentation to find the perfect skillful expression. One of the things about the logical circuitry is that it's never really satisfied. Even if you think it's perfect, there's still a little bit more that you can perfect. And so it's continually experimenting to try to find the perfect skillful expression, to continue to master it at even deeper levels. And it's looking for the perfect way to express your expertise. Again, it's connected to communication and action in the throat. So it is about expression. It is the ultimate expression of your skills. So you need to identify with the skill, right? So this is I experiment or I identify with. You need to identify with the skill, and you need to dedicate to the repetitive pattern, focus, and practice until you reach the point of mastery. And that mastery allows you in many respects to transcend the skill itself, and it becomes your art. So, they often say in jazz, you practice, 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 and then you just play like hell, right? So that practice gives you that knowledge, that depth, that ability to do the skill no matter what, the more that you practice. And again, when you master it, you transcend the skill itself, right? The dance becomes the dancer, right? The sword and the sword fighter become one in and of themselves, right? And it really becomes the art. And if you have trait 16, you are designed to eventually make your mark in the world as a keen critic, a skillful performer, or through your talent and enthusiasm for living. So this is trait 16. So again, if anyone has trait 16, we would love to hear from you. I don't think I don't have it. I do have the 48. So we'll take a look at that one with how you are affected when you're connected. But I would love to hear Shelley or Anna, if you have experience with others that have trait 16, or what your experience is or wisdom of trait 16, since neither of you have trait 16. Yes, Shelley.
I can add to that. I have my daughter-in-law has the full strength, the 4816, and she is an incredible writer, playwright, and movie maker. And she hasn't yet done it as it's not the way she makes her living. It's what she does for fun, but it's what she's been doing since she was probably 12 years old. She started by taking a course with adults on how to make videos back in the mid 80s. And she won an award for it, paired up with adults. So it's kind of been her passion and side gig, but she continues to practice writing. She has a blog she writes, and she's written a couple of feature-length films and a short film. So really just getting started with this. But all of us can see her, because she's got that full strength, it becomes the talent then once she's honed her skill. All of us that know her can see her talent just in the few little things she's already done. And we're all just waiting for her to keep going and carry on and hone it. And so I've had lots of experience in watching her not even be aware also that she has that real talent, not even really believing that she does have it. It's part unconscious for her. But I also have my daughter, it has this full strength as her bridging trait. So I have a little more experience with that too. And maybe I can talk about that when we do the how you get affected when you're connected, because being her bridging trait, it's been quite a shadow for her to wrestle with. So
yes, exactly. Yeah, beautiful example, Shelley. And again, it is something that, especially if it is unconscious, you're not even aware of, the skill or the talent that you have. And it takes this repetitive practice and of mastering the skill over time that that really allows you, in a sense, to transcend the skill itself and really be able to be out there. So it sounds like she's been working really hard and focusing really hard on really developing her skills. Yeah. Thank you, Shelley. Yes, Anna.
Something I just know other people that sort of, but not intimately, that have the 16, but just in reflecting on that, to me, there's a very interesting combination or distinction maybe between the two, the quality two of natural talent, the public role of natural talent, and the skill that's involved in 16. Because these people naturally have something, but they have to experiment with it over and over and over until they identify with it. And then when they identify with it, it's so pure. I think of two examples, and one is, like sports stars, sport athletes, basketball and football and all those. They often go into either being a trainer or a broadcaster or something, and they use what they honed into being a critic or, more skilled, but they still have this intense enthusiasm for whatever they worked at. And the other example I was thinking of, I do not know her graph, but I was thinking of Aretha Franklin. I don't know if you remember this. She stood in, I think it was for Pavarotti Last Minute, and she sang. This was like the pinnacle of her voice, her skill, her presentation. She did an operatic fill-in for him last minute because he had a cold or something. It's amazing. It's on YouTube, but the sound of it, it still gives me chills because this, opera wasn't her forte, but she had perfected decades of her voice, experimented. It was transcendent. It truly was beyond skill. It was pure art. I recommend somebody go look that up if you're interested.
Yeah, exactly. And it's true. There are a lot of very skilled athletes and performers that do have trait 16 as part of their design and really mastering whatever that skill happens to be. Yeah, Shelley.
Yeah, you reminded me, Anna, one of our family members that we adopted as a football player, and he's not only got the 16, it's unconscious, he's also a 2-4, so the natural influencer, and he's an innovator. And when I was going through his design with him, I said, well, you, as an innovator, you just know where you need to go. He's an intuitive innovator. You just know where you need to be whenever the time is right to move. You just find yourself there. And he said, that's so funny you say that, because that's what my coach has picked out with me in football. The position he plays is the one where you have to make a change at the last second and you have to know which way to go. And he just does that all naturally. He doesn't know how he does it. He just knows he doesn't even think about it. He's just there. And the play goes off as, even better than planned, because it wasn't planned. It's a last minute audible kind of type play. So it was really fascinating for him to recognize that about his, that's part of who he is, and it all happens unconsciously for him.
Wow. Pretty amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Vicky was saying, I wonder if Malcolm Gladwell has the 16 strong in his chart. He coined the 10,000 hours mastery concept. Yeah, that would be interesting to look up as well. Love that. Is there anyone here live in our Zoom room that has the 16? I would love to give you the stage as well if you want to explain what the 16 is all about. I know there's a couple of you that have the 48, but I don't know if anyone here has the 16. Anyone?
Leanna raised her hand.
Yes, Leanna. Let me, there you go.
Hey, Leanna.
I'm going to actually promote you also to panelist as well. I don't know if that allows you to do your camera or not. There you go. Hey, Leanna.
Hi.
Hey.
I won't do camera because it's really early here.
No problem.
I actually do not have the 16, but my girlfriend Melinda, who's on the call, does, but I think she's out walking in nature, so I don't know if she can talk, but I wanted to just say this one was huge for me to see her have it and people have it, because it's really helped my work, because I realized that I didn't have this one and I really needed it. Like, I just feel like I can often talk or get lost in the talking or different aspects of teaching or whatever I do at work, but then I didn't actually deliver on the skill set. Like I didn't have, say, the skills to anchor whatever I was teaching, if that makes sense. It's hard to explain, but I wanted just to flag that I really can, like, for example, Melinda will have, I'll talk on a topic, but Melinda will have 20 different specific skills or specific methods or specific techniques attached to every little topic so I would talk about the topic and then she offers all the techniques for it. Which I find really annoying, actually. Because I have trait envy for that one, 100%. 100%.
I love it. Thank you, Leanna.
Pleasure.
Do you have the 48?
Yep.
All right, let's talk about that now, because I have this as well. So this is how you get affected when you're connected. So this is the shadow of trait 16, and this is if you don't have trait 16. So again, I know there's several of us that don't have the 16, but do have trait 48. So the shadow of trait 16 is lack of confidence in your skill. So the questions are you constantly studying or trying to learn new skills? Do you feel inadequate and feel you need to improve your skills? And do you struggle in trying to explain your depth? So the 48 is all about depth, right? So you have the depth, but you really don't have the skill to be able to express it. The problem is that you may experience feelings of inadequacy, fearing that you won't be able to explain your solution, or periods of frustration when you realize that you must wait for your depth to be recognized by others before you can share it. So even if you are not an advisor, this is an advisor strength. So it does need to be recognized and invited for it to work properly. You may become over-concerned about developing the skills that you feel that you lack. And so the solution is relaxing into actively, expectantly waiting until waiting, and that will usually draw people to you who will initiate your depth, which will allow you to express your depth. In that way, your potential solution can emerge naturally and clearly as a foundation for evaluating, perfecting, and mentoring the skills of others. So really, if this is a bridging trait, especially, right, you, you need others in a sense to be able to express ultimately what your depth is all about. This is something that I can fully relate to. I do have the 48 and not the 16. So one of the things that I've recognized for myself is this tendency to feel like I don't have enough background, I don't have enough education, I don't have enough skill. And I can't tell you, especially in my younger years, especially how many workshops, trainings, trying to get more and more and more information because I felt like I just didn't have enough skill, that I just didn't actually know enough. And so I have a lot of depth, but always questioning, do I have the skills to back up that depth or to express that depth as well? So again, being in contact with, just like what you were talking about, Leanna, earlier, connecting with someone who does have the 16 allows you to work together in order to have that full expression of the skill. So it's a beautiful example. I think Paul McCartney and John Lennon, I think one of them, I can't remember which one of them had the 28 and one of them had the 16, right? And together, bringing those two traits together allowed the skill of this expression and mastery as the Beatles. So it's a great electromagnetic, especially in working with someone, someone who has the depth and someone who has the skills coming together can really be of great support. And Leanna, you were just mentioning that as well. So I don't know if there's anything more that you would like to add there.
I would love to say that it's funny because I'm just experimenting with Mel, for an example, who has the 16, in changing how I work with business and my offerings. And I want to say it's actually really, it's a little bit, I feel almost like a little bit nervous, like to put this in practice, because traditionally I work by myself. So anyway, I guess what I'm saying is I want to invite people to consider that it can feel uncomfortable at first to experiment consciously with working with other people to complete a strength. That even though you know that they complete it for you because you see it and feel it, there's still a bit of a nervousness, or there can be a nervousness. I find that really interesting, that even though I know that it's going to create a full strength for me, there's still a getting used to working like this.
Yes.
Because it's easy to talk about it, but to actually, hook up to someone and trust the process, trust the circuitry. So I just wanted to flag that as well, that calling it an experiment and giving it a go. And when you use that example of John Lennon and Paul McCartney, I actually lit up. I'm like, okay, good. Successful. Thank you.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, and I have the 48 and Linda Brunel has the 16. So that works really well as well.
Oh, that's great. I love
BG5
that.
Business Institute. Yep.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a really powerful electromagnetic. Yeah, and Vicki, it looks like you have the 48 as your conscious grounding. I'm wondering if there's anything that you would like to add or share as well. Especially as an evaluator. Yeah. Are you there?
Sorry, I just lost Zoom. Are we back?
There we are.
Yay! The whole thing vanished. What to add? I found a project I've been working on for a while in my job, that at the beginning I was like, I know we need this particular component and I want everyone to sit down and nut it all out or lay it all out and get it embedded, and I just couldn't get anybody on board at the time. And it's probably 9, maybe 10, 11 months later, and everybody's actually seeing and understanding why I spent so much time putting this data together. So that, and this is my 48, I knew I needed it. I didn't really know or wasn't able to articulate why we needed it. And now that it's actually there and people are like, oh, it exists, and oh, wow, isn't that useful? And we can do this with it, we can do that with it, and let's refine it in all these other ways. So I found that a really fun example of it lately.
Yeah, exactly. And having the depth, but not at first knowing exactly how to express it. And then once it does get expressed, it starts to take hold, right? And others are starting to express it in that way too.
Yeah.
Yeah, love
And
it.
just on seeing the 16 in other people, it's when it comes out of every pore of them, when they just live it to their depth, you know, that full expression of it, it almost oozes out of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you know the people that you work with, if any of them have the 16 in particular?
Not specifically, but
Yeah.
I feel it there somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much, Vicky.
Thanks.
Excellent. Yeah, and Anna or Shelley.
You know, I was just what Vicky said about you can feel it, and what Leanna was saying about being bridged. You really can feel it, even if you can't articulate it or name it or whatever. You really can feel that energy when you're bridged in whatever way, you know, with that, whatever trait or strength. But since we're talking about this one, it is connected to voice. So when it's open like that, you may not have the voice yet until somebody else recognizes you, and then you can begin to recognize it yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Beautifully said, Anna. And Shelley.
Yeah, I was saying before, my daughter has the full strength it's completely open, but it's her bridging, it's her only bridging trait or strength, however we want to say that. And before we knew about BG5, she spent an awful lot of time just feeling like she didn't know enough. She's also an advisor, likes to master systems. She's a 1-3, so wants to get to the bottom of everything. But she was constantly really struggling to feel like she had enough training, education, knowledge, ability, depth, all of that. Yet, because she had such a shadow around this, she's spent a lot of extra energy and effort to develop her skills and abilities. So most people that know her think she has a great depth of knowledge, skills, and abilities, because it's been an area she's really focused attention on to try to get better at it. And often, even when it's a shadow, yes, that can wear you out or burn you out, but it also can help you develop skills when you end up focusing on them. So now that was something you said earlier, Karen, reminding us that it's not only a logic circuit, but an advisor circuit needs to be recognized and invited. I've just watched this great transformation for her over the last few years as she's learned her design and become more connected with being an advisor. She's now just, just really settling into being herself, just moving through life. And she's attracting people to work with that she's not even sure at first what she's going to provide for them. She just knows there's a connection there, and they start exploring it together. And all of a sudden, all of these things fall into place that are making use of her skills and abilities and things she's collected from everywhere, all over the place. And so it's really wonderful to watch her really live her design, or, we're all in this practice experiment of doing that, but to see her kind of relax a bit and accept that she needs to wait to be recognized and invited. And when she does that, she falls into these amazing opportunities that allow her and the other people she's working with. It's almost like a magical fit when she does that. So that's been really beautiful to watch.
Yeah, really nice. Really nice. And Nanny, it looks like your daughter has the 16 and you have the 48. I would love to have you speak on what you've noticed recently. You should be able to simply unmute. And if you want to show your camera, I think you can. I promoted you to panelist. All right, are you able to unmute? All right. Well, if you If you can't unmute, then you are able to. We would love to hear from you if you are able to unmute. Beautiful. All right. Is there anything else or anything that anyone else wants to share or add about either trait 16 or trait 48? Yes, Jenica.
Hi.
Whoop. What happened?
All right.
There you are. Yay. Great to see you.
You too. You too. Well, it's interesting. I have the 48. My daughter has the 16, and she does. When she's around, I do feel like that. I guess it's the skills. They just come, and it's easy, and I don't feel it. Whereas she never goes to depth on anything. But when she's with me, we'll sit and we'll ask questions and we'll go deeper into conversations. And she's 14 and she's fascinated with human design. So there's some really good conversations. I'll bring this one up to her because she laughs at me. She's like, "You're always learning. You're always reading. Isn't it boring?" And I'm like, "No, I want to know all the things. I want to learn. I want to study." And we have a friend, a close mutual friend, a close family friend who basically found human design on Instagram, and then within 2 months was teaching in human design classes. She was like, "I am now the expert. I'm going to teach it." And so Scarlett's like, "Mom, how come you're not teaching classes? You've been studying this for like 4 years. You should know everything." I'm like, "I know nothing. There are still so much to learn. I need to go take that class and that class and that class." But it's so different how we play it out, right?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And here's one of the things about this information too, is that often I was just looking at, and I was this way as well when I first learned human design. I thought I knew everything. And one of the things that you learn about BG5 and human design is the more you know you don't know, because this is one of the most in-depth systems that I have ever come across. So speaking of depth in the 48th, you can go really, really deep and still not understand it. A lot of things do happen on the surface level, but it really is understanding the depth. You realize that, sometimes you still need to study and still understanding that there's so much more to learn about it. Thank you so much, Jenica. I love that.
Yeah.
And Nanny, let's see if it works for you now.
I am so sorry. Can you hear me okay now?
Yes, no problem.
I don't know what Mercury is doing. Maybe it's an issue there. But thank you for letting me speak on this. And it reminded me, my daughter has the 16th and I have the 48th. And she also has the 2838. And she's been looking for something to sort of get involved with. She finally responded to, she's a generator, to taking boxing classes. And this is something that she's finally stuck with and is doing on a regular basis. And she's gaining mastery of it. And her father and I both have the 48th gate, and we're kind of assisting in bringing her to these lessons or to her classes. And it made me think about how this stream lacks energy. And it really requires, either enough money to master the skills, enough, energy, or, you're going to need this fuel or this energy to build upon that. So I just had to chuckle when I found myself every, week driving her to her class and back, and her father being able to support and pay for them, and her being able to attend and gain mastery, that it needs, it's lacking that energy.
Yeah,
that makes
exactly. Sense. There's a lot of Olympic athletes, for example, right? They need the sponsorships. They need to, in order to master something at that depth, to be able to focus on it. Remember, focus is also what grounds the 16, to be able to focus on it on a consistent basis. And in order to do that, you have to have the resources necessary, whether it be, driving to the boxing classes, or paying for the boxing classes, or, support in, fulfilling your basic needs while you're practicing. And I think that's a beautiful point, Nanny, is really realizing that that's part of why the enthusiasm also is so important, is because in order to practice something over and over and over and over and over and over and over again to perfect it, you need to love it. You need to be interested in going, in a sense, to be able to work with that skill and to identify the skill. It's no longer it's when the dance becomes the dancer. It's when the boxing becomes, the boxer really becomes the boxing, where, there is that line between really, having it and being it. And, it takes that mastery, and really beautiful point of, again, it doesn't have the energy, so it does need that support. Yeah. Thank you so much, Nanny, for sharing that. Really beautifully said. Yeah. So again, if you are curious, if you have the 16, or if the 16 is one of your shadows, it bridges your traits. If you want to know if you have the 16 or not, you can download a personalized chart from the BG5 Business Institute. Take a look at, do you have trait 16 or not? Also, you can join us for our BG5 Live on a weekly basis. You can subscribe to the Trait of the Day. You can also watch past episodes in our free resource library, as well as online on YouTube. And we have, again, started our classes, and the next classes are going to start in September. So this is the last chance, if you will, to start classes in May. Today's the last day of May, so it's your last chance to start classes in May. We will be starting and opening up. The registrations now open for our September classes. So if you're not quite ready to take a class, but you're interested in taking a class, you can start signing up for our September classes. All right, let's wrap everything up today. And again, we are currently in the 16. So I would love to hear, what are some things to be aware of or pay attention to, or anything that you would recommend for those who have trait 16, or if you don't have trait 16 and it's activated right now, maybe you do have the 48. What are some things to pay attention to? Let's start with Anna.
I guess one of the things that I'm paying attention to as we're talking, because I don't have either trait, is the level of enthusiasm. And to, reiterate what you just said about, it doesn't have the energy behind it, but the enthusiasm is attractive. So, I would just kind of say, what do you feel enthusiastic about right now? This is going to wake something up in you. And then maybe you meet other people that have this trait, or the whole screen, whatever. I would just sort of muse on what do you feel enthusiastic about right now?
Yeah, beautifully said, Anna. And Sarah's here, and she does have the 16. I would love to hear from you, Sarah.
Hi, hello. Hello, I guess, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. So I don't know when I hit upon 16, when I first learned about this whole thing last May. And I'm a manifesting generator, and I'm 78 years old. So I've been around. Anyway, and I've studied astrology for years. Anyway, I hit this Uranus. And it's true. I have been half-hearted, just taking it as a flaky thing in French. And now I'm completely dedicated to it, because I'm taking my grandnieces to Paris. And so I had to tell my French teacher, because I've been a PIA in that class, just never having anything ready, really, and always being afraid to talk. And now I'm like 100% into it, and told her, now I'm dedicated. And I understand what dedicated is, because I have, Mercury square, Pluto. So I know in depth. I have masters. I have, I know how to study. I just wasn't serious about it. But now, yeah, that kind of thing where I really have to settle down. And so, yeah. So, and that's great. This is the new moon, right? This is the new moon we just had, right?
Right.
Last night or something. Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if your niece has the 48. I'm just curious. Because
they're twins. They're two girls, May 22nd. Not sure what that is. May 22nd just happened, so I don't know what their son is. But this is my Uranus. Well, my Uranus is is very powerful, believe it or not, because it's not connected to anything. It's out there on its own, so it has great power, actually. So anyway.
Yeah. Well, I love that, Sarah. And thank you for joining us and sharing, because it may be, we've mentioned this before, that sort of the 16 is sort of dormant until, in a sense, there's something that you're really passionate about, that you really love, that you want to focus on. Just like you said, Sarah, with French, and with, I forgot what the other piece was as well. And even astrology, that you were, you've dabbled in it, you've studied it a little bit, but now that you're going to France and you're doing these things, that you're really in tune with it. So sometimes, there's that trigger that when it's correct, it's like, now you can focus on it. Now you can go in depth with it. And now it really comes to life. Thank you so much for sharing, Sarah.
Yeah, sure. In the 1-3, I say, do the Duolingo. That's great. Great. And you can keep it up. If you answer enough questions, you don't have to pay any money.
Yeah. Thank you, Sarah. Beautiful.
All right. Bye-bye.
And Nanny or Jenica or Vicky, if there's anything that you would like to add as well.
I'll go ahead and go.
Yes, please.
There was one thing that was sort of popped up to me when Anna was bringing up about enthusiasm, is there's also the opposite of, I remember it being taught about delusion as well. So maybe there could be an aspect to, during this transit within us, those that don't have the 48 or that do, or whatever, is also being aware of the not self being delusional about what they're enthusiastic about or not. Something to consider.
Yes. And thank you so much for bringing that up, Nanny, as well. Because interesting enough, in the era that we are currently in and currently wrapping up this era of planning in quality 1, which is the illusion and delusion. So currently we have been in a lot of illusion and delusion, and we moved into that quality 1 at the beginning of the 60s, and that is going away. So we're starting to see truths uncovered as well. And so again, I love that you brought that up, Nanny, is really taking a look at, the skills also can be, and that enthusiasm can be an illusion or delusion. And sometimes that helps us work through those times that it's really boring to practice, right? And sometimes we also need to be aware of where there's false enthusiasm, that we're looking at fantasy as fact as well. Yeah, thank you so much for bringing that up, Nanny. Anything, Vicky or Jenica? And if not, that's fine as well. Beautiful. And how about
really quickly?
Yes, please, Vicky.
Reiterate what's already been said, and it is for you. It's a personal journey until you're initiated by someone to share about it. So,
yes, yeah. Thank you so much, Vicky, and thank you also all of our on the spot panelists that stepped in and shared. And let's wrap up with Shelley.
Well, that's so interesting. Everything that's been said. What sparks for me right now is having this completely open and talking about illusion and delusion. What sprang to mind, and a bit of what Leanna was talking about earlier, is we've grown up in this era where skills and depth and talent especially has been really rewarded and focused on, and people have become famous for their skills and talents. And as a shadow, this can make us feel like we need to live up to that if we don't have the talent or skill or depth, that somehow we're less than. And I love what's happening right now is that the illusion is falling away, and we're realizing that each and every one of us is exactly perfect the way we are, and that was just an illusion, that we all had to have a specific skill or talent and be famous in some way. That pressure is falling away. And at the same time, we now have a stage and a platform where anybody can be famous, whether they have talent or skill or not. We have YouTube and TikTok, and everyone can just be themselves and be out there just being themselves, and be seen for who we really are, truly are, which is, I think, part of the illusion falling away, that the truth coming forward is that each of us is meant to be completely different. And, taking advantage of understanding this information and knowing that when the 16 is activated, we have the ability to focus on or hone in on a skill for a short period of time, even to get better at something that we're really enthusiastic about, that we always wanted to do. And maybe we have a spurt of energy to dive in and do it at that time. So it's all wonderful to understand and be aware of all these different dynamics at play.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, beautifully said, Shelley. And I forgot Leanna. And Leanna, I don't know if there's anything else that you would like to add as well.
I am just thinking, just recognizing the conditioning, that invitation to recognize the conditioning of the not self when we can have that inner critic spark. And as opposed to noticing where we begin and where we end. So as far as, a strength or something defined, and feeling that activation, that energy within us. And then noticing, especially when we're learning about this, when we don't have something, and then we can feel when something is not there for us, and to really be able to track the not self-talk that is self-loving, as opposed to making oneself small or not good enough. Like that it's an invitation to just be more of who we are, as opposed to feeling less than, because it's so subtle, that not self-talk.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And especially if you don't have the 16 and you're making yourself bad and wrong because you don't feel like you have the skills and you're trying to develop it. So being aware of, again, both if you have the 16 and utilizing the skills, and you may feel like you don't have the depth on the other side, or again, having the depth, but not feeling like you can express it. So being aware of those shadow sides, the shadow side of things as well. Beautifully said. Well, this has been amazing. Thank you, everyone who stepped up to share. It's so great to have that additional contribution and to hear the different perspectives and how it shows up. So appreciate you being here today, and look forward to seeing you next week as we move into the month of June. All right, everyone, have a fabulous week and look forward to seeing you all next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.